Okay, thank you everyone for your patience. I think we are ready to start. Today we are having the information session about the Canada Day and diversity. I'm asking please everyone except presenters turn off your microphones. You'll be able to ask questions after the session in the chat. Thank you very much, and we are ready to start. Shall I start share screening?
Yes, please.
Just a second.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Captain Ray Garcia Salas. Today's presentation is about the celebration of Canada Day and diversity. Today we are going to have two speakers. It's going to be Nick McCarthy, that is going to join later on, and myself, Captain Ray Garcia Salas. I'm going to talk a little bit about myself. I study mechanical electrical engineering in Guatemala. I arrived to Canada in 1996.
Captain,
Then,
may I have your attention, please? I'm sorry.
oh yes, no problem.
Would you please because we are having the translators and interpreters for many languages. So usually we ask the presenter to make a pause, speak like slowly, and make a pause to give them possibility to make translations.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you
No
very
problem.
much.
Yes, no problem. Yes.
Oh, sorry.
Yes, no problem. It's okay. I arrived to Canada in 1996. I study in Carleton University, mechanical engineering again. And at the same time, I joined the reserves in the Canadian Forces. Then I joined the regular force 5 years after that. And I am being in the Canadian Forces, in the regular force, for 19 years. Today's references are the Constitution Act 1867, the DND internally, we have a CANFORGEN. Also, we have the Bill S218 from the Parliament of Canada. And you can see the other references. Next, please. Okay. One back, please.
Sorry about that. Just a second, please.
Okay, no problem. No problem. Okay, what is our aim today? Is to raise cultural awareness among people with different background. Our mission: to showcase the richness and vitality of Latin American culture and heritage, while also highlighting the contributions that the Latin American community has made to Canada. Leveraging Canada diversity, inclusion, and gender equality, and promoting a culture of leadership, respect, and honor. What is our motto? We took it from the Mayan Popol Vuh, Part 1, Chapter 2, and is helping us unite it with all the communities. And it says, arise, all of you, call everyone. Let be not one group, not two groups among us who remain behind the others. That is telling us to work together. Next, please. This is today's agenda. Next, please. Why do we celebrate Canada Day? First of all, we need to know when it started. As you know, technically, Canada was born that date of 1st July 1867. Under the Constitution Act in a single dominion. The country was divided into Ontario, Quebec, Nova Scotia, and New Brunswick. That's all, those only provinces. 1 year later, Governor General Lord Monck signed a proclamation that requested all of the Queen's subjects across Canada. The holiday should be duty celebrated on that day. And in the 1982, the Dominion Day renamed that celebration to Canada Day. Next, please. This is to show how Canada was during that time, 4 provinces in the 1867. Next, please. Continue with why we celebrate Canada Day. We have fireworks that begin in the 1981. Canadians celebrate doing different activities like barbecues, outdoor concerts, parades, etc. In many restaurants, you can get red and white bagels, Dynamo bar popsicles, and maple chill drinks. Some decorate their houses with flags and colored Christmas lights. I'm gonna recount my own memorable first day celebration. When I arrived to Canada, I arrived in 1996. The first Canada Day for me was in 1997 and was a memorable one because I could see the richness of culture. I could see people dressing different typical clothes from different parts of the world, but very proud to be Canadians with the flagging the Canadian flag or waving the Canadian flag. Next, please. As you know, Canada is one of the best countries in the world. Many times is being number 1. Last year was number 2, based on CTV News. But why is that? First of all, is the quality of life, social purposes, social justice. And in that sense, talking about quality of life is how easy or difficult it is to get food, housing, education, health, job security, political stability, and very valuable individual freedom, and also an environmental quality. We have to think about the importance of social purpose. The respect of human rights is very important in this country. The religious freedom also, and the environment. On the other hand, the social justice is the promulgation of diversity, inclusion, and gender equality. For example, we have the Latin American Heritage Month celebration every October. And there are other celebrations that I'm gonna talk about later on. And the other aspect that is very important is that women here in Canada are viewed as an effective leaders. You can find them in the Canadian Forces, in the federal government, in private institutions, and so on. Next, please. Talking about the Canadian cultural values and beliefs. Canadians are known to be some of the most polite, tactful, and peace-loving human beings on the planet. In fact, a stereotypical Canadian is depicted as one who apologizes despite not being at fault. In the Canadian values, we have egalitarianism. What is that? Is when people are deemed equal. This is why the hierarchy is not very evident. Everyone is deserving of equal rights and opportunities in this society, regardless of gender, age, race, or beliefs. Talking about now informality. As you know, Canadians are casual in dress and language, but depending where they are working, as like bank, law office, galleries, etc., they dress differently. And when you are meeting someone, you address them as Mr., Mrs., and so on, or a professional title like a doctor or engineer, and always for the last name. In the order and space, Canadians value order and preserving their personal space. This is very important. They also value personal privacy. It will be wise to keep away from discussions of salary, family life, weight, religion, and other personal topics. This society is community oriented. And its a strength. You can see community centers. You can see different presentations for artists and so on in different places. The punctuality. The punctuality is very important. Being on time is highly valued in Canada. Punctuality is a sign of respect. Remember that. Everyone is expected to arrive on time or at least 5 to 10 minutes earlier. Respect. This trait often manifests itself through politeness, punctuality, tolerance, and social order. Now we are going to talk about multiculturalism and diversity. It's very important to remember that historically, Canada began developing into a strong nation by welcoming immigrants. In 1971, Canada became the first country in the world to adopt multiculturalism and official policy. Talking about now political correctness is refraining from saying or doing things that exclude, insult, or marginalized groups of people. Now we are going to talk about regionalism. Most Canadians are said to have an affinity to their province or region, sometimes more than their country. In this sense, for example, the Atlantic provinces are somewhat reserved and old-fashioned. Ontario is business-like and conservative. People in Western Canada are seen as open and friendly. In British Columbia, it's unconventional and progressive. On the other side, Quebec is distinct and autonomous. And the north, like Yukon, the Northwest Territories, and Nunavut, as a strong pioneering spirit. We have to remind us that Canada is a country that loves to protect the environment. You can see that Canada maintain their parks and open spaces and adopt and follow environmental friendly policies. This richness of cultural values and beliefs is give us one of the best countries in the world. Next, please. I'm gonna talk about the Latin American meaning. This is what I come up because a lot of people don't know about the Latin Americans, what the Latin Americans is the meaning of where they are coming from, what is their culture, and then I come up with that. The Latin Americans are those individuals that were born in any place in Latin America or adapt the culture in those places from Mexico to Chile or Argentina. They take in account indigenous people of the Americas, the people that descendants of Europe, Africa, and Asia that communicate in Spanish, French, Portuguese, and as I told you before, and adopted the culture. In a simple words, we are a mosaic of the diversity of the human race. We are an amalgamation of cultures and ethnicities. Like Canada is here, that you can see different people coming from different parts of the world. And this is very important because in different parts of Latin America, you can see white people, you can see people, the descendants coming from Africa, but you can see Asian people and indigenous people. And sometimes people tend not to understand that amalgamation that we have, not only in music, but in arts, um, in food, and so on. Next, please. Because D&D is a reflection of what the communities are doing outside. In that sense, the Canadian Forces promulgates the diversity, inclusion, gender equality through different celebrations, like Black History Month in February, International Day for the Elimination of Racial Discrimination on the 21st of March, Asian History Month in May, International Women's Day on the 8th of March, Indigenous Awareness Week, International Day Against Homophobia, Pride Month, Latin American Heritage Month, Women's History Month, International Day for the Persons with Disabilities. You can see different celebrations, and that is giving us to act collectively and unite us and work and continue working for this prosperous country. And I can say that I am proud to belong to the Canadian Forces. I am proud to belong to the Latin American Soldiers Committee because of those celebrations and the promulgation of diversity, inclusion, and gender equality. Next, please. In October, the Latin American Heritage Month is celebrated with music, arts, food, and so on. I belong to the Latin American Soldiers Committee, as well as the Canadian Forces. Then we celebrate or commemorate in different way. We commemorate as a Latin American Remembrance Day in different bases, and even outside Canada, where our Canadian with Latin American roots are, like Italy, Latvia, and so on. You can see in those pictures that we celebrated with exhibitions, with a launch of the first book, with Latin American Remembrance Day in different cemeteries. The biggest celebration or remembers is at Beechwood National Cemetery. But you can see one of them that we did at Mount Hope Catholic Cemetery, paying tribute to Private Rafael Rodriguez, a very well-known Mexican that came to Canada, joined the Canadian Forces in the First World War, and is buried in that cemetery in Toronto. Next, please. The life of the Latin Americans in the Canadian Forces, or even in Canada. First is the adaptation to Canada. We are coming, in my case, I came from Guatemala, where the culture is, I can see the fusion of the European culture with the indigenous one. In our case, is the Mayan culture, and food and arts and music are coming together. When I came to Canada, first I have to adapt it to a new language, because over there mostly people speak Spanish and indigenous. Over there are 23 indigenous languages. We have to adapt to weather also, because sometimes the weather here could be extreme, like in winter minus 40, 45, 30, minus 30, but in summer could be plus 40, plus 35, depending where you are living. We need to adapt to a new culture, or an amalgamation of culture in this case. Food too, because you can find different kind of restaurants, and our family needs to adapt to, if you are coming with babies or kids to Canada, they need to adapt that. For them, the adaptation is quicker. Now, the adaptation to military life sometimes could be different. And in my case, I was in different bases, but always I was leaving my family in Ottawa. But the support of the Canadian Forces is there, in the way that I was able to see my family during some weekends, and continue paying attention to them and talk to them through different means, even though I was in another province, but always I was tied to my family, because for the Canadian Forces, families are very important. And sometimes when you are doing a basic training, or you are taking a course, you can see the difficulties of finding spices if you are cooking, but nowadays it's a little bit more comfortable because you can order through different means. Next, please. Like this kind of presentation, we start doing it since 2019, and we call it Fitting into Multicultural Institution of the Canadian Forces. We recount all the events that we did inside of the Canadian Forces and outside. Was more extended, and in this situation, we adapted to Canada Celebration Day. Next, please. As a conclusion, we as Latin Americans, we celebrate Canada Day as one proud nation. We have to be, first of all, we need to be very proud to be Canadians, and also we need to be proud to maintain our culture, in my case, the Latin American roots, because that is giving me the identity. But I am happy to be in Canada because what Canada is done for me, and as I can see Canada as my home, and I can see Canada as land opportunities that sometimes is difficult to find in other places, and the respect for human rights are very important in this situation, and the multiculturalism, inclusion, gender equality also. Next, please. If you have any questions, I can respond it to you. The last thing that I'm gonna tell you is that I belong to the Latin American Soldiers Committee, and I am doing a research about the Latin Americans that came to Canada, joined the Canadian Forces voluntarily, and fought in the First and Second World War. Those Latin Americans help to construct this prosperous country. You have any question, you can ask me.
If anyone has question, please write it to the chat and I can read it. And Captain, thank you so much for your information session. It was really informative, and it was, I was happy to hear all this story and your story as well. It's inspiring. Thank you. And let's wait, maybe someone has questions. So far, I think no one is typing anything from the language group. Shall we have any other presenter today?
I think Nick McCarthy, but I think he's a historian and is the marketing person at the Beechwood National Cemetery, and he's having an event right now, I think, at 10.
I see.
That's why.
Okay. Yeah, it's all right. Yeah, I was just checking if we have another information. Oh, we have a question. A student has asked if you can tell us how Canada Day is celebrated and where. How Canada Day is celebrated and where.
In Canada Day is celebrated in different parts of the provinces. Like in my case, because I am living in Ottawa, I go to the parliament, in front of the parliament, and they close literally the main street, the Rideau Street, and people are walking and celebrating, chanting, having their Canadian flags, wearing red, white, buying food, taking the kids to the parks, listen to music, live music, but it's celebrated even in parks also, because I live in Orleans. Last year I went to a park close to Orleans, and with they have live music, food. It is everywhere. Literally, people are very proud to be Canadians during that day.
Yeah, that's right. Something similar we have here in Fredericton. So if students are not aware about what happens in Fredericton, we will post this information on our social media. But usually we also have the fireworks. It's beautiful to see it from the Westmoreland Bridge or from like Riverside. But all the information will be given additionally on our social media.
Yeah, and it's very important to attend those celebrations, because you can see that people are inspiring you when you see people coming from India, from China, from Poland, from any place of Latin American, from any place of African, indigenous people from Canada, and they are together celebrating what is Canada nowadays. Is you can see happiness around you, and the proudness of being Canadians.
Yeah, and people are really united in Canada, right?
Very
Yeah.
united, exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Any other questions, please? Captain, are you making barbecue for Canada Day?
Yes, usually we do. Yes, we do some barbecue, and we make some typical food from Guatemala, like tamales. I don't know if you tried before, but it's very important to keep alive our culture, but at the same time to pay attention that being a Canadian is very important, and you have to be very proud of this nation.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much. Okay, I think we have lots of things to think about and to be proud of. Thank you so much for your time and for this information. Yeah, thank you.
And um, I can tell you that it's it's good if you teach your children your culture, food, music, and so on, history, but amalgamate that with the Canadian history, Canadian values, because all are coming together, and is the richness of the nation that amalgamates different cultures in one country.
Yeah, yeah, you are definitely right. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, no problem. And if you have any other questions, I can.
I don't see any question here, but I'm pretty sure we all enjoyed this session. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. Have a good day.